The doctor told me that I have a miscarriage. When I found out that I was pregnant, the first thing I thought, oh my God, because I was already 2 months in training and like in fighting, it's totally not healthy to be pregnant. When I came to the scan, the first thing the doctor told me, okay, I see a heart is beating. That was like a miracle again. That 24 hours had taught me like the biggest test that I ever had in my life. When I gave birth, I was like, okay, when is my next fight, you know? Like a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from my manager. My manager told me, I have a big fight for you. You know, I like challenges. This summer, I will fight a really big fight.
Nothing ever happens to you. It happens for you. Pain is not your enemy. It is a teacher. If you stop resisting, you will see its lessons. Every challenge, every struggle, every moment of suffering is shaping you into something greater. The ones who embrace their pain rather than avoid it become unstoppable. Denise, this is a passage from the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a book I've read myself and that I found very valuable. And it's also a book that uses the term the universe quite often. And just from the research I've done and the few things I've been able to see from what you post and the way you talk, it's also a word that you often use. So I think there are some things that you'd like in this book, and I'm going to gift it to you after the podcast.
Thank you.
It's always how we start the episode. Denise, of course, there are so many things we can talk about. We actually recorded a podcast with you behind the scenes, and that was like it was in November, so it was a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so much has changed since.
Yes.
Before we talk about that, we're going to look at a photo from when you were younger. What do we see here?
Yeah, that was me when I think about 3 years old, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, funny if I looked up. I didn't know that this picture came up. So yeah, always funny to see yourself as a little girl, and yeah, how my journey till now it's unbelievable if I look at me now and then. So.
There's also a story, I think, behind this picture, because I think if we look at your right foot,
yeah,
there was something you wrote in the caption of the post where this photo was featured. Maybe you can say something about that, because it was quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, it is, because I think I was here around 3 years old, and like you see, my right foot was always was never standing straight. And the doctor told me that that couldn't happen because my foot or my ankle was like that. So yeah, with everything I did, with swimming, with walking, they always say I always have to have somebody who can help me or some special treatment because my foot will never be straight. But yeah, I think with faith that my parents had, that my foot will be straight and that I can walk normal and be in normal shoes, is that my foot is now straight. And yeah, when I look at me, at that moment, I was really shy also because of my foot, because in school they told me, oh, your foot is why you don't stand straight. And, you know, all kids are really cruel. So they always have something to say about my feet. But you see, now I think almost 32 years further, and look at me now, you know, and my foot is straight and I can walk straight, and my foot are never my inability in my life. So yeah, what faith can do.
Yeah, and talking about faith, it's so cool to see, because of course you talk about that then you had maybe like it was difficult, and now your feet are used for, you said walking, but also kicking and strangling and all just the footwork that's magnificent when you're fighting. Of course, for now you were out of the game for a little while because something really important happened. What was that?
My son is born. I'm a mother now, and
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, the most wonderful thing that a human being can ever experience. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for this journey, and I'm grateful for a beautiful, healthy son that makes me every day a better person. So, yeah, grateful for that.
Amazing. And I think also you were in a preparation for a fight.
Yeah.
And during that preparation, you found out you were pregnant.
Yes.
How was that? Because I can imagine that's you're very happy, but you can also have maybe some mixed feelings because you were working so hard.
Yeah.
What goes on in your mind at that point?
Well, it was already the end of my fight camp. So the next week, I was planning to go to the US to fight. So, yeah, if you are at the end of your preparation, you are totally ready to fight. So I go to the doctor because I was a little tired, but I thought something was wrong with my iron in my blood. But I found out that I was pregnant and already 2 months. So my whole fight camp was with a baby in my belly. And at that moment, I couldn't believe. I saw the test, it was positive, but then I told Hesti, buy something because I can't believe that this is really happening right now. So after 3-4 tests and everything was like positive, yeah, then the thought of that I have all the time a baby in my belly and that the universe gave me this is something that I saw as a miracle.
And what was it difficult? Like, were you at some point, were you thinking, oh, maybe I should fight, I should finish it? Or what went on in your brain? Because I think it's difficult also.
Yeah. Well, as a woman, you always have to do a pregnancy test before you go to the ring or to the cage. But that's always one day before at the weigh-in. So one day before the fight, every woman have to take a pregnancy test. So all my fighting career, I was always thinking, well, what if the test came positive, what if? But thank God that wasn't that far, because I think if it was one day before my fight, I found out that I was pregnant, the mental issue would be much harder. But now I was still in Holland. My package was already packed for the fight. But I saw it as something that it was always a dream to become a mother. And that the universe gave me this miracle in this position. And this year was just like, I totally forget about the fight. And I thought, okay, I have to be healthy and have to take care of my body and take care of the baby I have in. So I was really happy, but also a little bit like, the feeling of, because normally as an athlete, your body is always in charge of your mind, your mind is always in charge of your body. Yeah. Because if you think, okay, I don't want to train, your mind always has to tell you have to train. But now the other side, because now my body was in charge of my mind. And in the beginning, I was like, I want to train, I want to do this, I want to do my old training routine, but yeah, I'm pregnant, so it was not healthy to do the old thing that I did with training. And that was something mentally that I really have to be like calm and just take my body in charge of my mind. So that was a big lesson for me now.
And in retrospect, because you said you trained for 2 weeks whilst you were pregnant, was that dangerous or could that have no issues down the line?
When I found out that I was pregnant, the first thing I thought, oh my God, because I was already 2 months in training. And like in fighting, it's totally not healthy to be pregnant. And I was really scared also because, I was thinking all those training that I've done, I was on a diet, nothing ever healthy to be pregnant. So when I found out, the first couple of weeks were really like, I was a little bit anxious for what my body will do. And I think also 1 week when I found out that I was pregnant, that my body was giving a reaction of all that anxious that I had, because one evening I was sitting there and I was bleeding really heavy. And I was calling the emergency line, and the emerging line told me that that I have a miscarriage.
Wow.
So yeah, that was something like going into the fight, knowing that you're pregnant, and then 1 week you're totally happy, but also a little bit like anxious because you are pregnant. But what will my body will do? And then after 1 week, the doctor told me that I have a miscarriage, and that was thinking. I was thinking that. That were because 24 hours later I have to scan if my baby was still alive, and in that 24 hours that was like the biggest test I ever had, like mentally in my life. And fate told me that fate helped me in that 24 hours, that even if the doctor tell me that I have a miscarriage, that still that little faith that everything's gonna be all right. And also Hesti, my partner, we were both having faith that, okay, it's gonna be all right. And after the 24 hours, we went to the scan, and believe me, I was still like crying, and that 24 hours was really hell. But when I came to the scan, and the first thing the doctor told me, okay, I see a heart is beating. And that was like a miracle again. I feel like that 24 hours had taught me like the biggest test that I ever had in my life, and how strong my faith is that everything's gonna be all right. And now 9 months further, my son is healthy and born, and is really the miracle that ever happened in my life. So
Yeah, I can imagine also it's such a relief when you hear that. Like you've had some big fights in your life, as you said, but I can imagine that this ranks above everything.
everything, it's like if you step in front of a cage is like a circle, and it gets locked and you're locked in, and you never know what's going to happen, because fight is fighting, but standing there and being on the phone with the doctor and telling me this, and it's about life that's in me, that is something that I will bring in every experience ever if I step in the cage again, because that's how mentally my brain works, and how my body reacts is just something that is making me stronger as a fighter, as a person, as in anything. Because that position is it's terrible.
We actually have a picture of you stepping into the cage. When we look at this, so of course, this was before you knew you were going to have a son. What's going to be a difference between you stepping into a cage back then? Like, what are your thoughts then, and what's going to be now? Because you're saying that it will be different.
Totally, because now if I'm standing there, at that time when I didn't have my son yet, I was always thinking in myself, okay, why I'm standing here, why I'm gonna do this, what will be the outcome, what I did to be here. But now I know that now I'm stepping in the cage with my son, and if I step out of the cage, I have to look at my son again, and that is why my why will be bigger than ever, because the moment I step out of that cage, then I will look at my son, and I'm going to tell him that Mama's going to be a champion and is a champion. So yeah, totally different now, totally stronger. My why is stronger and bigger than ever.
Well, and I'm curious because of course you're a mother now, and that is also different in the way you probably feel a sense of responsibility towards your son. And now you step into the octagon, and it's dangerous. Like that you step in there, and not everyone comes out the same. Like that's the reality of fighting, as hard as that may sound. How do you deal with that?
I think that, and I still think about the universe, that he chose me to be his mom. And I know that the universe gave me a son, and that I'm not a mom like usual mom, and that is my life, that's my passion. And he chose me, and that's already, fighting is already such a big part of my life, that he chose a fighting mother. and he chose Miss Dynamite, he chose Denise. So I know that whatever the outcome will come, that he will be proud of me.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I'm sure like also with just all the life lessons you've had and everything you have got to experience at such a young age still, that'll be so beautiful for your son also to learn from that. And I think you've been able to live many different lives in the 32 years that you've had. That's just beautiful.
It is. And that's why I always tell everyone from martial arts is something special. You know, it can change your life in so many objects. And I still believe if you don't have to be a fighter or something, but just experience the fighting that everyone has in their self is something that makes you like as a person much stronger. So I believe that whatever he wants to do, but he's have to choose for one martial arts sport.
Do you have a preference?
I hope that he start with judo.
Okay.
Yeah, and then maybe kickboxing, but I think judo, like to be aware of what your power is and what you can do, and that you're not afraid to fall. You're not afraid that somebody is touching you. So I think judo will be perfect for him, and that's also what he wants to do if he don't like it or not.
I think that's good. I think like in a way like recommending heavily that your child should go onto a sport, especially at a young age, is so valuable. I did taekwondo myself. I think at the age of 6 I started, and I did it for good 14 years. And it has taught me everything. Like just sitting here as well, having a conversation with someone that has a massive story, like the nerves you feel before going into a fight. You can't describe it, especially when you know you're going to fight against someone from Kazakhstan that has won the last 19 fights on KO, and you're in the finals with him, and you know it's gonna go one way or another.
Yeah.
Like the nerves you feel then, and you compare that to any school presentation, any business pitch you have to give, any podcast, any whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can't compare that. And just that alone has taught me so much, and I think I can also see it. And I wasn't fighting on the highest level, but what you're saying, like even at that level, like that's brought me so much. But also discipline, right?
Yeah.
Like we had such a strict teacher, and I always was like, yeah, but why? Like I'm like 2 minutes late. Like we didn't even start the training.
Yeah.
Push-ups, 200. And you would count next to me in front of everyone, like you're wasting time for a training. And I could never understand, but now I look back and I'm like, it makes so much sense.
That's all, you know, like I think that, and I also thought about discipline is everything, you know. If you have a goal, okay, I want to lose weight or I want to be a champion, it always starts with discipline. You can say it and you can have a goal, you can have motivation, but without discipline, you don't even have that success, you know. So discipline, every morning if you wake up and you think, okay, I'm going to train because I want to be a fighter or I want to be a champion, it starts with discipline, not motivation or success or talent. No, discipline, you know. And that's also something that I do all my life. Even when I was pregnant, you know, like 9 months, they think, okay, don't think about training, you have to focus on getting a baby. But I still train, you know, because that's my discipline and that's what make me feel better. And that's also why I'm feeling now really strong. And even if I just had my baby, I feel like I want to fight again, you know. So
we're going to talk about that 100%. What I'm curious about is during that pregnancy, I can imagine it's not a easy choice to say I'm going to continue training. Maybe also not the path that everyone chooses. Some people take time off or they want to purely focus on that. And you were like, no, I'm going to continue training. And probably it's a different training. You're probably not throwing each other around in the ring, but like you're still going hard at it, especially from the videos that we were able to see. How was that period for you?
It was challenging, you know, like if when you are pregnant, your whole body is in charge of the pregnancy, you know, and that is something that teach me really a lot because I used to have my body like training, even when I'm tired, even when I'm hungry because I'm on diet, I always go and push myself harder. But now my body is something, a human being is growing in my body. And that is something that I really felt all those months and really teach me that, okay, take a step back and focus on other things. And those 9 months I still trained, but I also focus on my mental part, you know, and still in training, but then on the mental part of my brain, my thinking, my journey till then. So even that came up, that little girl till now going to the cage. What now? My team, what now? The people around me, are they valuable? Are they making me happy? So those 9 months are really taught me that my journey in my mental journey, and that's something that I'm really that changed me also a lot after the pregnancy. So I feel like I'm now, if I look at that picture, I'm now totally another person.
Wow.
Yeah.
That mental training you're talking about is very interesting. I think it oftentimes gets overlooked. For like, yeah, I'm training and I'm training 2 times a day and that's what I'm doing. But here you're talking about something different. I think it's like reflection, but probably we're also doing some active work on that mental aspect.
Yeah.
Could you go a bit deeper on that? Like, because the things you just mentioned was reflection, I think. You were like, I looked back and I almost looked at all the different variables that are within my fighting career, but also my life.
Yes.
And I started asking myself questions. And I think that is something that we as humans, because everything goes fast, always in a go mode, especially for you where there's so much at stake. Like you can't even, I think it's easy to get lost in, because you have to train and you have to eat well. And those are the things, those are the base. But then there's another layer, like maybe underneath that are maybe oftentimes overlooked.
Totally, because as a fighter, I always have a schedule for a date. There's always a date. There's always a date for the fight, and your way of living is always in charge of that date. And now I didn't have a date. Yeah, I have a birth date, but not for fighting. So those 9 months were really like, okay, what now? Then you come to yourself and to your inner self. Okay, I'm now not a fighter. I'm going to be a mother. I'm going to experience something that I never experienced before. So what now? And all those thoughts, it can rule your mind. It can make you go crazy. It can make you go angry, but be in charge and focus on those inner, what you said, those inner thoughts, And I found out that I was all the time in a kind of race of training, preparing myself. But then I found out that also people in that race, people on my journey. And if you are not a fighter, who are the people who are there for you, and still ask you, okay, how are you doing, And that is something also that I keep in mind, I found out that I was now not the Denise, the fighter, my Denise, the pregnant Denise. And that was a totally different person. And also the journey with people around me, I make my circle smaller because you notice that if you have a big circle, that some energy in it is not always good. And I found out with the mental things that I focus on that now I'm only focused on energy that makes me feel good, makes me feel better. And if you're not, then you're not in my circle. So that's why I'm really thankful that in the 9 months that I can prepare for that and also focus on that, because otherwise you're always in the run, you're always in training, and you didn't even notice those energies. And now I notice those energies, and now they're out, or not really out, but I know that's what they are doing to me. Aware, yes. And that's also something that makes me a better person.
It was beautiful. I like the way you said, like, how you always have a date, and that was a different date.
Yeah.
And I feel like you use that date for the same, like, of course you have a goal, but now the goal is more internal. And you got time to actually, you got 9 months to like work on that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can imagine, especially for you, when it's fight date after fight date, and they always want to have you on the roster because they know it's gonna be a spectacle.
Yeah.
So you don't even have the time to rest. Maybe the only time is in the plane when you're flying there, and even then probably you're thinking about the fight.
The next fight already. Okay, if I win, then the next is always next, like a train, like a rush. You're always in a rush for your work, for my work is fighting. And now those 9 months was not a rush for fighting, but also something that I really focus on is giving birth, because now I was a challenge to something that I didn't know about. And also focusing on that, on the day that my labor began, I was so focused and so calm that even my nurse told me, whoa, you did it really good. And I really walked out with my son out of the hospital with him in my arms, like the nurses told me, how can you walk? You don't have to have a wheelchair. But I was so focused on everything that's gonna happen that day, that I was so strong mentally also, that even that experience is something that was the most beautiful thing in my life that ever happened. So yeah, I will say that Denise Miss Dynamite is now totally different, but totally stronger.
Even more explosive.
Yeah, more exclusive.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I think I also see some parallels, I think, and maybe I'm a bit too creative here, but like you're talking about how you really locked in on that moment of you being in labor. It almost looks like you're in a fight camp and you're focusing on stepping into the octagon. And I think in different podcasts, I've heard you talk about visualization and how that helps you to get into a fight. Like, it's almost the same. Like, you visualized that journey, and by doing so, you know what it was going to be like. Of course, you can't like predict, but you can already like play it out in your head.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't happen to you, but like it happens.
Yeah. And totally true.
I think like the experience you have with dealing all those high pressure environments and preparing for those situations, because you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to try to chop your head off.
Yeah.
And now, of course, that's not the case, but it's also just as hard, or if not harder.
Yeah.
And it went great. So
totally true.
That's amazing.
So it's also some like you visualize, like the day you give birth. They always say, yeah, your first child's gonna be 2 weeks later normally. I was totally visualizing. No, 4th of November is gonna start.
Wow.
And it really started at 4th of November, and it started, and it was at actually the 6th of November that he was born in the night. But I was already focused from, okay, you can tell me, yeah, you have the 2 weeks because it's your first, but I was thinking, no, the 4th of November, my journey is going to start, and it really starts. So visualization is something that is so strong if you have faith in what you believe in,
Is that something you also use for your fights? Like, do you actively work on that?
Now, I usually work with that, but not that hard, like, because if I have to be honest, like my fights are always like, okay, I have to be stronger, I have to run harder because my condition, I have to focus on this technique. But now that I focused on my mental part, is something that I never ever experienced before, like this. So I believe that this will be like totally different, because I never focus that mental part as hard as I did the last few months.
Yeah, I'm so curious to see also what's next, because it's something you can tell us, and anything in the pipeline that you're working towards.
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from my manager, and my manager told me, I have a big fight for you. And I like challenges, and this summer, I will fight a really big fight. And like I said, let's go. When I gave birth, I was like, okay, when is my next fight, And now that the universe has gave me a date, and I'm really focused on that, and also really happy that it can be happen, And if everyone told me, it's not too fast, or you just gave birth and your son this, that, but I like challenges, And even when people told me, you cannot do that, I'm focused that I will do that. So this summer you will see me back in the cage again.
Like, I think I haven't heard this before. I think it's the first time you mention it.
Yeah,
that's it's incredible. And I think also what you're saying, I can see it from the outside, but people would think that, because of course you're on the one side, you just became a mother, which is a massive responsibility. Then you have your body, which is still recovering from the pregnancy, because it's not an easy path.
No.
And then you're also preparing for the fight. You're gonna have the diet, the mental challenges. We're going through training twice a day. All those like obstacles or habits that you have to pick up again, especially after such a long period.
True.
But as you said, it's a challenge.
Yeah. You know, like before, like my whole life, I'm an athlete. You know, I train and I go I go to my home, and then, you know, like, but now, like, even when I go to training, I have to do so many things because take care of my son. Even if he don't sleep well in the night, you know, you'd have to take up like 3 hours in the night. You don't sleep that much and still go in the morning to training. That's also discipline, and that's why my discipline is now much better and much harder and much stronger than ever, because I just go in my car and go to training, but now before I go to training I have to do so many things, not for me but for my son. And that's why I know that training, I'm going to give it my all, because I know what I did to come here and to be here and to prepare myself for this. So that is also something that me as a fighter is going to make me much stronger than ever, because training for now is already a fight camp.
We also talked off camera a little bit, and something you said that was really interesting for me is you said when you're a fighter, everything is focused on you. And you have to focus on yourself, and everyone is working for you. You have a team around you, for you, an organization, for you, a fight, for you, a fight card, for you. And especially when you're Miss Dynamite, you're somewhere like you're high on the list. So all eyes are always on you. And now you have to make a switch where it's not about you, it's about someone else, because you have to take care of someone. How is that? Because I can imagine that's also, I mean, it's natural, of course, because you're the mother and you want to take care of your son. But I can imagine it's also a switch that you have to make.
Yeah. Yeah, it is like what you said, it's natural as a mother, you know, like the moment you came out of the hospital and with your son, you're at home, and what now, you know? But then you notice, okay, everything I do still now, if I do my hair, if I do my makeup, everything I do, I have to make a schedule, you know, because he's now my first priority. If he's hungry, I first have to feed him before me, for especially. And that is a big switch, because my whole life is all about me, you know, it's all about me getting ready for a fight. But now it's not me, it's my son. And that is something that I really enjoy every second of it, you know. It's not that I think, oh, my old life, all about me. No, it's really about him, and all my energy, all my love and everything I do is for him. And that's also something that as a fighter is going to make me stronger, you know, because now if the next moment I fight for him and not for me, no, for him.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear. And I think hopefully later on when he's a bit older, he'll be able to listen back to this podcast. So that's my mom.
Yeah.
We'll be so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. When you look at that fight date that you have ahead, are there things that now you're already like, because of course now it's more, I think it's still the recovery phase of your pregnancy. Did you already start like training for that, or like what does that look like now?
Yeah, I already start because, you know, I also aware of that my body is not that I used to, you know, I just gave birth. They say 9 months of pregnancy, 9 months of recovery. But for me, it's going to be a little bit faster than 9 months. But, you know, I feel that my body is really strong. And I'm thinking I'm now in preparation for making my body stronger and focus on my explosion again, like for 1 month. And I'm always already back on my old shape. So it's going really fast, you know, and that's also something that I visualize, like my whole pregnancy. And I really have to work hard for it, harder than I used to. But that's also a challenge that I take in with my arms open, you know, and I'm really grateful that my body can do that. And how I see now how I started the 1 month ago and how I see where I'm at now, then just see me in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course, just like in a fight, you have a corner, and now you also need to have a very good team, especially to manage everything that's going on, especially at the home front. You have a beautiful relationship with your your partner. What is that like? Because you're both fighters, you both have a fighting background. Sometimes they say opposites attract, but in your case, you're, I think, probably in some ways very similar, some ways very different. What is that like?
It's like the most beautiful thing that I ever experienced, you know. And also, we both have fighters. He's now retired, but like if I see how this journey, also in my pregnancy, even with labor, we were there in the hospital. Like if I have to fight, you know, he was standing next to the bed, like, okay, now in and out, okay, here we go again, and you know, like counting down. So it was like in 20 minutes, my son was also there.
Wow.
So it was really like if we going into a fight, you know. And now if I look at my son, that's the perfect combination of us two. And he is just my partner, my the love of my life, my everything, because he knows me so well. And also how I see now. If I go to training, he said, okay, I take care of the baby, you know, you go to training. He helped me with everything I do. And that's what I say. If I fight or if I go to vacation, I'm always so much happier when I can share it with him. And even this journey now, you know, the bond between us is now so much stronger than ever, because now we have a son together. We experienced this journey, me not as a fighter, and how he was there for me and still is, and taking care of me is just, I cannot even describe that in words.
It's beautiful. And I think you also mentioned that he also stands in your corner when you're fighting.
Yeah.
That's also quite special to see.
Yeah.
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 How do you experience that? Because that's something that you decided together, or is that the way you always want to fight? Because you both have a background, so I think you can give very good advice when you're fighting.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's everything is intertwined. You have your relationship, now you're both parents, and you're also in the ring together, because when you're in the corner, you feel like you're fighting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you experience that?
Yeah, like what I say, he's my lover, but also my best friend. And because he was also a fighter, he know every position that I went through, you know. And when there was a moment, a time when I stepped in the cage and I was really insecure if I will win, if I can do this whole MMA. And he was there for me. He was the only one that looked in my eyes, and he saw me like falling down, you know, my insecurity taking over. And I was really in the cage like, okay, I don't know if I can do this. And then he saw that. He was the only one that saw that. And take me out of the cage. He told me, okay, notice what you are doing here, what you came from. And you're not gonna let this experience like taking over now, this chance that you are facing right now, you know? And that pep talk, that gave me like, boom, totally different explosion, totally different motivation. And I won that fight in 30 seconds.
Yeah, full circle. When you look ahead and you look in the years you have to come, you're still very young, and I think you're going to be in your prime for the next few years as well. Do you still want to continue fighting? Is that something you want to do for a long time, or is it something that you want to do now in the short term?
I think that for now my body is feeling good for it. Like mentally, I'm really good. I'm really feel like I'm in it, and if that all is all together and I feel really good, then I will go on for the rest of my life. But for now, I feel really good, and I'm really focused. And I always say, if the younger generation not taking over my experience and my fighting skills, then I'm really good. And for now, I'm really good at it.
Yeah, and you're going to stay for a long time, because I think what people don't see is, of course, they see now the titles and what you've done, but you started at a really young age, right? And it wasn't just kickboxing and MMA. You did a lot of things, all different things as well.
Yeah.
So we can go a bit like back in time and talk about how that was for you as a young girl, being in all those environments that is pretty male dominated, I would say. How did you experience that?
You know, like that question I get asked a lot. Like it's like a man's world, but I never like experienced like, oh, this is mental. I don't have my position here. It's also how you present yourself. If I'm a woman, okay, I have to be in the background. No, I'm also a fighter like you are. So I also stand in front of you. So that's the totally different mentality that I have all my life in the fighting career, because not before I started with judo, right? And I was totally someone different.
Yeah.
But when I started with judo, I had really like the mentality, okay, the moment that I threw a guy on his back and he cried, then I thought, okay, we are equal. There's no difference between women or men. And that's also something that I take care of my whole career. So I never even noticed that a big difference between men or women, because I don't see myself as something different. I see myself as the same fighter as he is or she is.
And when you look now at your training partners and the way you train, how does that look? Are you still like mixing it up with men and women when you're training?
There's still in fighting, there's still more men than women. So, but that I don't see it as something, a problem, because men are really strong, and still, if you fight a man, it's always much more difficult than if you fight a woman. So I see it as a challenge for my fights to be stronger in my fights. But in fighting world, there always going to be like a difference, and there are more men, but I don't see it as a real big problem.
What I try to touch on is like when you're in camp, for example. Like, of course, I can imagine it's harder to find a lot of training partners that are women than men. Like, do you also train with men, or is it like you have a special group for just the females? How does that look?
It's mixed.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have to travel a lot also
Yeah.
here in Holland to find each other, because MMA is still a really small kind of people who fight at a level. So we travel all over the Netherlands to find each other and to train with each other, and that's a mix of women and men.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And the way you pick your training partners, of course, you have a date now and you maybe already know who you're going to fight. Like, is that in accordance to the fight that you have specifically? Imagine it's a heavy grappler, you're going to focus on that, or do you always have like a fixed group with who you work with?
Yeah, like I had like a trainer who was who I had my team, like, but now I focus on things who's gonna fight at my opponent, and then I found the right training partners and the right trainer to focus on this fight.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That also makes it, I think, always different. Like, you always have to prepare for something new, and especially in fighting, like, it's not your 9 to 5 where you know what you're going to expect. It's like,
no.
It's always going to be different
always
plays.
Different. Yeah. And that's what I like about MMA, because it's a complete of the fight combat. Like, you can fight a wrestler, you can fight a kickboxer, you can fight someone who is going to take you down all the time. It's totally different, and all the time there's new fish, new opponents, stronger, better, or something in something. So the challenge is always there. So you never outlearn and never out of challenging to go in the cage or thinking, okay, this will be easy, because this will never be easy.
It's also cool to see, because you really climbed the ladder of different martial arts. You went from judo, then you went kickboxing, and then you went MMA. So you came there with like a full backpack of like knowledge and expertise.
Yeah.
And what you said was beautiful. You said, I'll continue fighting as long as the new generation doesn't take over. But you have so much experience, and you've seen so many different like walks of fighting, that before that ever happens, they'll have to do a lot of work to get there.
It is. But Hesty, how I see his journey, and he's now retired. But also, there's gonna be a time that you really think, okay, now it's enough. And I see that with him. He had really like the mindset of, okay, now I'm done with fighting, and even if I'm still can compete with the younger generation, I'm just done. And how I see it with him, that's also something how I see it with myself. If my mind tells me I'm really done, then I'm really gonna stop. It's not something that my ego. No, because the next generation is like the mindset again. The mindset is telling me, okay, you are really done and you cannot enjoy this journey anymore. Then it's time for me to stop, and that is what I focus on if I stop.
I mean, that's a very noble thing as well, especially when you look at some big fighters like Khabib and also Hesdy in this case. Like just knowing when to stop and when it's good,
Yeah.
it's hard because they're always going to be a bigger check and they're going to call Hesdy, hey, I know you haven't fought for a while, but we have this great opportunity for you.
Yes.
Like we really need you to hop in to save this card. It's hard because you're going to have to make decisions on the spot, but then really standing your ground and saying, no, this is a decision I made and I'm going to stick to it. It's a very noble thing, and it's also a good thing, I think, for yourself. Because
it is.
As a fighter, I think it's difficult as well because you're always thinking like, what if?
What if? Yeah. And you know, like as a fighter, you're so used to a date, you're so used to attention, so used on the training and going into fight camp. But then if it's everything is done, what are you then? You know? And that I think is most of the fighters are scared of, because if you are not a fighter, who are you then? You know? But I believe that if you focus on that gives you energy besides fighting, and what makes you happy besides fighting, that your journey and the universe will lead you to the journey that you are meant to be, you know? And that's also something what I see with Hesdy. He's now working with a lot of youth.
Nice.
And how I see also today, you know, we just had a call and he helped he helped someone with moving, you know, like getting out of his house and moving to a bigger apartment. And he was so so happy that Hesdy helped him with that. And that's also something that in life, you know, what makes you happy, the smaller things. And seeing his journey is also something that I focus on after my career.
Yeah, I think the gratefulness he experienced from that, of course, it's going to be hard to find that same dopamine rush you get from knocking someone out and getting that belt wrapped around your waist.
Yeah.
It's just different, but accepting that now you're in a different stage of your life, and just like him, like he can give back, like all the knowledge he's had.
Yes.
He has seen like the flip side of the coin. He knows everything. So I can imagine, especially if he works with people that are from, like if they've, you know, they've seen a lot. Oftentimes when you work with younger people, it's people that really need it. If they have someone like Hesdy that they can look up to and they can identify with, that's so good.
Yeah.
And like what he does now, like back then he was impacting people in the ring and people are like, oh, he's gonna fight. And now like on a micro level, he's like individually impacting people. Like it's different, but it's still the same. And if he can find like that gratefulness and that sense of fulfillment from that, like, then he really has struck gold.
It is. And that's also what I see with him, you know. He's not on social media. He's not for the likes. He don't do any interviews anymore. He's just done with the publicity. He's just focusing on his own journey, and he can be happy with like today, you know, like with some of his students that say, okay, really, I'm so thankful that you helped me with this. And that is also part of life, you know. Because I think as a fighter, it is difficult, because I also experienced that in 9 months. Because normally if I go in a store, you know, like I'm fit, and now with a big belly, everyone, oh, look out for this, look out for that. And you're thinking, okay, why never ever somebody told me, okay, look out for this, don't do too heavy that, you know. So you experience that you are more than just a fighter, you know. And that is something that that part of life, is just that the universe has gave you that, you know. And if you are open for that, and the universe will let you do that and experience that, then you will have the most beautiful destinations.
You mentioned fate and universe today, but also in previous interviews you've done and also in posts you've published. I don't really know how to ask the question, but I'm curious on the way you see that. I'm also a really strong believer that there is more than just this, and especially energy is very important. You also mentioned that in this conversation, that energy is so important. Is that something that you do you have conversations with the universe, or do you like actively talk to it, or do you pray, if you want to talk on that?
Yeah, meditate. I meditate every morning, and every time I go to bed, I'm just given my gratitude to the universe that I experienced that day, and that I still can breathe, you know. So because you never know when is your last day. We can talk now and tomorrow morning can be totally different. But if I enjoy this day and I'm happy what I did this day, and just be happy with the smaller things, you know, like waking up, going to bed or just taking a shower, or that I can breathe or give my son breastfeeding. Everything that I do is just the small things that I'm grateful for. And yeah, that's something that if you're open for it, if you're close for it and always focus on the bigger parts, every day can be like a good day and that you are grateful for. So that's something also that this journey will take me.
It's funny because I oftentimes ask this question and I almost always get the same answer. And it's this, either they meditate or they pray or they have another way of like being in touch with the higher.
Yeah.
Like it's a habit that successful people have. Like that is my conclusion, because I just see it so often, like having that to fall back on and to trust on, especially when you talk about those 24 hours of hell, for example. Like it's so beautiful that you're able to like have that strong faith in yourself and the universe in this case, that it was going to be okay, even against like whatever the doctor said or whatever they predicted would happen.
Yes.
That requires such a strong force, and it really has to come from inside. Like no one's going to help you with that.
No one. That comes what you say. It comes from the inside, All the outside people can tell you this, people can tell you that, but the inside is your own belief and your own faith and the own straight that you really practice and meditate. Because if you don't meditate, you only believe on the outside. You only look at the outside. But meditation gives you like the look on the inside. And no, you can trust your inside. That's also something that helped me through this time.
Denise, when you look at your future and the legacy you want to leave behind for the people to see whenever you are a happy retired mom, and you're probably still going to be very busy doing other things because I know you can sit still. What do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to think of when they see the name Miss Dynamite?
The woman with faith, the woman with faith in herself and with a lot of joyness in her life and gratitude in her life, like before you would think, okay, they have to look at my world titles or this, but no, I just want to see that they see the picture there, or they see the picture of me as a young girl and they see, okay, she was really a joyful and happy woman or happy girl, and that's something that I hope that the people will see me if they ever notice me if I'm gone. But just be grateful, They don't have to look at even the name Miss Dynamite, I'm not Miss Dynamite. Yeah. I'm not even Denise. I'm just a woman who is happy and really grateful for everything that is happening in my life. And I hope that they will see me like that.
I think you have a very good philosophy, especially it's the one that's very future-proof, because you don't need any external approvals or external gratification in order to be happy, if I hear it like this, which is something that works for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world, everything moves so fast. Like being materialistic is just something that is at some point inevitable, especially when you look at how fast everything's going. Everyone wants a nice car, everyone wants that house at that place.
Yeah.
But when you can look internally and look, okay, I'm healthy, my family's healthy, and I have all the things I need.
Yeah.
That's the biggest rijkdom, or like the people that are watching will know or talking about. It's beautiful to see.
It is, and I hope a lot of people will notice that. Then it will be a perfect world. But even now, it's perfect. Even the ins and outs that are not that good is even perfect. So I always people say, yeah, you. Or people don't say it to me, but I say, yeah, I want to be perfect. But even with your claws, or even with your things that are not seems like perfect, you are perfect. Everyone is perfect just the way they are, because we are born like that. And now that I see a born from my son, he gave me that. That feeling of, okay, that's how he is, and that's how the universe has bring him into the world like this. And that's gratitude, and gratitude is everything.
I think I'm going to have to ask the same question, because we always ask at the end of the podcast, but we always ask, what does success mean to you? And I think it will intertwine with the answer you just gave before, but just because.
Yeah, success for me is when I see my family, when I see the people around me happy. That's success, happy, healthy, and just living their life like they are wishing for. And that is for me success. Most important thing is healthy. But most also what's really important, like they're happy, you know, and that's my success.
Amazing. Denise, thank you so much. We are so excited to see you fight in summer and hear more about what's going to go down. Everyone is patiently waiting for the real announcement. We're going to be following you. If you ever need something done, a video or whatnot for your camp, or you're going to capture it, please let us know.
I will keep that in mind, for sure.
We'll happily help you out with that. And
thank you.
Thanks so much for coming along. And congratulations again on being a mother. I think it's the biggest achievement you can achieve in what you've done. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I think you're going to be a great one. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you for the podcast. And thank you for the good energy that you gave. Yeah, thank you.
Likewise.